and I'd like to give you a warning in advance. They asked me, can we go long? And I said, don't worry, I'll shorten my sermon the longer you go. But they're also respectful, so we'll see. For those of you who don't know, the King's Academy is a Christian school that's starting here, and we're already a part of it in some way, at least, by my involvement. I've taken on a little bit of helping them out in the summer, and I'll be teaching one class, and I told them only one class, when they begin in the fall. So, I've been encouraged by their faith and their zeal, their hope for the future, and their eagerness to serve the Lord, and I hope that you will be too. So I'll invite Brandon and Jordy to share, and I'll have their PowerPoint up in a moment.
Good morning. I'll wait for the PowerPoint, but I just want to tell you guys what a joy it is to be with you this morning. We've visited quite a lot of churches, and I have to say you have something very special here. So you've really blessed my heart already this morning. Thank you for welcoming us. I'm just going to go ahead and start, and this PowerPoint thing is still very much in the works, so I appreciate your grace with us. Brandon says I have way too many words on each slide, so you don't have to read it all. Anyway, okay, so we are building a Christian school. Even though I am obviously already in way over my head with this thing, I'm still asking why? Why do we need Christian education, and why a school like this in particular? Let's be honest, not all Christian schools are what we necessarily want in a Christian school. So why do we need King's Christian Academy in Swift Current, Saskatchewan? So my answer to that question is going to be highly personal. I was raised in this community. I went to school at Weimark and the Comp, and I'm raising my own children here. So the conclusions I present here, they're gleaned partly from what I'm reading and learning, but most importantly, they're from my heart. They're from my experiences as a child, an adolescent, and as a mother of 4 small children. And if you're counting, there's only 3 with me today. So, okay. I am going to give you 5 reasons we need this school. Although they're all important, I've listed them from maybe just slightly less importance to the greatest at the end. So some of these will resonate with you, and some won't, or you might put them in a different order. But I would challenge you, if you are a Christian, and not even a Christian parent, just a Christian, I would challenge you to listen closely to reason number 1, because I think we all need that reason. So, let's start with teachers. You probably remember one teacher who made a significant impact on you in a good way. Teachers have that power. You probably also remember one, maybe more, who made a different kind of impression. And then with your kids, you've probably noticed that the teacher they are assigned for the year dramatically affects what kind of year you all have. So, do you remember the first day of kindergarten, leaving your child in the teacher's hands? That is a really big deal. And that's because teachers disciple. Jesus, as you recall, Jesus was called teacher by his disciples. He was called teacher for a reason. It is a high calling. So my children have been part of the Catholic school system for a number of years, both here and in Melville. And I can tell you that not all their teachers were Christian, let alone Catholic. So some were. Rosie's teacher this year in grade 4 at All Saints, her teacher is a sister in Christ who I deeply respect, and I'm very comfortable having my child in her hands. And I thank God for teachers like that in the public system. But some haven't been Christians. And you can definitely tell when a teacher is teaching religion class just because they have to. So this is something that Christian schools, they cannot compromise on. Our teachers must be missionaries. They have a calling from God to disciple the next generation in a way that glorifies, delights, and honors him. They're not Christians with a job. They are the hands of Jesus, washing little feet. Next reason, peers. So this should be kind of obvious. Think of your own life. How influenced are you by the people you spend your time with? And how much more susceptible then are children who are in the throes of developmental mayhem? How much more susceptible are they to being molded and shaped by those around them? Now, this is one of the biggest reasons I kept my eldest, who is in grade 6, I kept him at home this year. I could see that my influence was waning and his peers was growing. Every day last year, he came home from school asking for a phone. And this year, he hasn't asked once. It's almost like he forgot to care. But if he had remained in school and among that same group of friends, I know that he would have been exposed to explicit content by now. And perhaps he already has been. So am I trying to shelter him? You bet. He is not ready to navigate those things on his own. Now, we know that all the kids who attend a Christian school will not be saints. In grade 12, I actually sent myself to a Christian boarding school in a different province because I knew that I needed to get away from certain influences. And guess what? The kids there were just as bad or worse. So how will we actually create the kind of godly, growth-filled culture that we dream of? Let's be honest. Sin is never going to be absent. But it really helps if we're all on the same team. So that's why we've chosen to be a covenantal school rather than an evangelistic one. We serve Christian families, Christian kids, because we want to uphold and strengthen one another. We want to fight for and against the same things. We'll never stop fighting sin. We'll never have a perfect school. But we need to be clear on what sin is and why it's a problem. We need to fight together in the same direction. My third reason. Oops. I don't think that's the right one. Well, let's just carry on. My third reason is academics or curriculum. Now, in university, I nearly lost my faith doing a literature degree. And it wasn't because of certain teachers or peers. It was because of the way my thinking changed. Now, my 12-year-old is in no danger of doing a lit degree, I can tell you that much. But he loves science. He loves doing experiments and figuring out how things work. But this kind of work, fact-based as it may be, it's never disconnected from an overarching narrative. The textbook knows that, and his textbook presents two options for him. First, a scientific narrative without an originating creator. And then, a traditional knowledge narrative, where all things like rocks and trees are sacred and they're part of one's family. A third option, the narrative that I teach at home, is conspicuously absent. So if he's learning on his own, or if he's in public school without his parents, it is solely up to him to reconcile these narratives, these worldviews. That's asking a lot for a 12-year-old. But the fact is, if we teach our kids a curriculum that is not grounded in God's wisdom, is not absolutely saturated with His truth, then we're gambling with their fledgling faith, and we're sowing chaff among wheat. What will win in the end? And that's not to say they shouldn't be aware of other perspectives. They need to know what other people believe in order to defend their own. But let's not put them in a position of defense before they are fully armed. Yes, we're in a battle. I just said that. But this school needs to be the barracks where they are readied before being sent to the front lines. My son doesn't yet know how to wield the sword of the Spirit. So, science is an easy example, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you read our provincial curriculum online, you'll soon discover that there is a narrative thread throughout. There is an agenda. If you know much about critical race theory, you'll recognize that it underpins the entire curriculum. The dangers of this worldview, not everyone would agree, but I would say that they are extreme but subtle. It emphasizes kindness, tolerance, and anti-racism, which seem good, but it's godless. It teaches that humans can overcome their own evils, but we know this is impossible. And like Marxism, in which CRT is rooted, what it does is create categories of oppressors and victims, perpetuating division and deepening hatred. When your child learns in grade 6 social studies that white privilege is the only cause of the injustices they see in society, then they may begin to believe that the only solution is to unracist themselves and everyone else. And that's a problem. Because, actually, what all humans need is the forgiveness and the grace of God. Are you okay? I think he's good. Anyway, we can't fix ourselves. And being led away from this truth is a slow and a subtle process of replacement. Slowly replacing ideas of what is truly sacred and meaningful and foundational. My daughter, I'm going to go on a bit more about this subject because I'm really passionate about it. So my daughter is in grade 4 at the Catholic school. And she came home with some worksheets about the virtue of tolerance. So a busy parent might glance at this and think, oh, that's nice, anti-bullying stuff. Wrong. Very wrong. Unless we want another generation of wishy-washy, secularized Christians who have forgotten how to love boldly in truth, then we better see a problem with teaching our kids about the so-called virtue of tolerance. And finally, disallowing kids to fail or to excel is just plain wrong. There is a very low standard set in the public school system. There is a very low standard set in the public school system, and kids get an M, that's the grade, an M for meeting this standard, or they get an A for approaching it. What a waste of potential for those kids who could do so much more. And what a tragedy for those kids who need help, but aren't given the time they need because everyone just has to be pushed through the system. That's not the way Jesus would educate, would he? On to my penultimate reason, family. A school should support the family, not be in conflict with them, not working against them, not making a parent's life more difficult, and not making discipleship more difficult. Honestly, a lot of Christian parents, I think, are so used to our setup, church here, school there, that I wonder if they even realize it can be different, that they can actually feel like they're not beating their heads against the wall. Working with the Canadian Christian Education Movement and Teach Beyond, we have heard this called the three-legged stool: home, church, school. I don't have any more goldfish. So these things, these forces, they need to work in tandem, and they need to agree. It's okay, I got him. These three things, home, church, and school, they need to agree in order for a child to thrive. It goes without saying that a child will learn best when they're not also trying to sort through mixed messages. Did I go backwards, Brandon? There we go. So this is almost so obvious as to not need saying, but a two-legged stool will topple. I want you to picture that. It might not seem like an imminent threat in kindergarten, but by grade 6, which is the farthest I've gotten. I'm sorry. Please go find your dad. This two-legged stool, it'll topple, right? It might not seem like an imminent threat in kindergarten, but by grade 6, it's very clear that the world is going to come down hard on that child. He will need to be able to support weight because he will not always have you supporting him. He will need a wide and a solid base. He will need an unshakable foundation. Because anything and everything will try to push over his faith, will try to topple him. In my life, I had a good home and a good church. 2 good legs. Like I said, I tried Christian school in grade 12, and I tried a Christian university in the States right after graduation. But honestly, by that point in my life, I was already toppling. The other legs broke in the fall too. By the grace of God, I was eventually rebuilt by the master carpenter. But I wasted a lot of time, and I did things I wish I wouldn't have done. And it breaks my heart to think of it. I don't want my children entering adulthood as wobbly as I was. And I don't want them to take decades recovering. I want them built up now. So I'm really trying my utmost to get this leg right. Sorry. Okay. The most important reason of all, something God has been convicting me of in a major way. The next generation. So when you hear that, you think of your kids, right? And that's what I've been thinking of all along as I try to start this school. I think of my own family, my own kids. And God has slowly but forcefully been telling me, no, my kids, all my kids, Jordy. I'm talking about the ones from Christian families who will attend our school. And I'm talking about the ones who become Christians at camp, and they need a school to strengthen them when they come back. And I'm talking about the ones who will know Jesus because of the kids that went to our school, the kids that went out and shone as lights in the world. Lights that were not hidden, lights that were not dimmed, but lights that burned bright and were not overcome. There is a whole generation, church, that is calling out to be discipled, that is calling out to be taught. God has put these children in our hands, and we've been giving them away. Let's stop. Let's stop doing that. The world needs them as missionaries, and our job is to prepare them for that, to train them up, to grow them, to ready them, to equip and strengthen them. And let's take our job as the mature Christians, as the spiritual parents, let's take it seriously. We have an opportunity here, church. Lucky for you, Brandon's already done most of the work. All you have to do now is sign up, catch the vision, partner with us in any way that works: prayer, service, finances. But frankly, I'm not here to get you to do anything. I want you to believe something. I want you to believe that this is possible. I want you to believe that this is good. I want you to believe that this is necessary. And most of all, I want you to believe that God cares. He cares about your children. He cares about my children. He cares about the next generation and what we choose to do with them. And if he cares so much, then I think we should too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordy. Happy Mother's Day. My name is Brandon Wiebe. I don't know how this thing works yet, so let's give it a go. Cool. I was here a couple months ago. I think it was your AGM. We had a meal downstairs. You guys were very hospitable and friendly, and the food was delicious. And then I turned around and thanked you by spilling juice on the floor. So, sorry about that. Jordy and I both serve on the board for King's Christian Academy. We want to thank you for having us here today, and we want to thank Pastor Eli for his help and excitement. He is an invaluable resource. So King's Christian Academy is a private, non-denominational Christian school. We're not affiliated with any one specific church. We did that intentionally so that we could serve the broader believers of Swift Current. This also means that no church has to carry a huge load and sacrifice a lot. But it does mean that a lot of churches and individuals have to carry some load and some sacrifice. We will offer a Christ-centered curriculum and culture, academic excellence, and smaller class sizes. To get personal with you, a couple years ago my wife and I received some bad diagnoses health-wise. They're scary, and both have so far gone as good as possible, praise God. But it was a hard ride through, and it's not all totally figured out yet. But in that time, I had quite an intense breakdown where I was left writing down what I think matters to do in life with whatever time I have left, you know. And the top thing by a mile was that my kids would know Jesus. That was all that mattered. I couldn't even write the rest of the list. I couldn't even write, like, where do I want to go before I die? You know, like, it didn't even matter. It was just, my kids need to know Jesus. I'm not going to die imminently, guys, okay? I was just freaking out at the time. But the question was, what can we do to give our kids the best shot at keeping their faith throughout their lives? That's all that mattered. And that's one of the reasons why I'm part of this school, amongst many others. When you look at the statistics of private Christian school and classical Christian curriculum, you can see that kids are like 4 times more likely, or up to 4 times more likely, to keep their faith throughout their lives. 4 times. 2 times would be amazing. 4 times? So I have 2 challenges for you this morning. If you don't care at all about the school, these are some things that you can still take away today. What legacy are you leaving for Christ? If you already have something, let me encourage you to go all in on it. Make a difference for Christ that is a lasting impact. If you don't already have something, consider joining us and helping leave a legacy of Christ-centered, God-honoring education for Swift Current children. Number 2, the culture of the next generation is influenced by what? Education and entertainment. If you think that culture is trending in the wrong way, away from God, this school is something that we can tangibly do to change culture. I've been frustrated for years with culture, okay? And it's like, there's nothing I can do. And it's like, oh, there's something I can do. And that's pretty exciting. It's exciting to do something instead of just be frustrated. And this can impact generations. So let me be frank about things. Kings simply can't exist without your help. It can't. It's not possible. We've raised about $25,000 so far. We need to raise $125,000 more for this year. When Christians are unified and pushing together in the same direction, we can move mountains for Jesus relatively easily. I'll give you an example here. So if 500 people in our city donated $250 each, we would have the entire amount for the school this year. And you could break that down to $20 monthly installments. That's not back-breaking, you know. Even if every Christian in Swift Current donated $10 or $20, like once, there's well over 1,000 Christians in Swift Current, right? And many hands make light work, and many donations add up. Anything helps. We are trying to change the future culture of Swift Current for Jesus. And I believe we can absolutely do that. All we need is the backing of the local church community in various ways. Next slide. I did it. Come on, that's kind of funny. So anyways, we're in the middle of our Give Kings a Home campaign. We're starting out at Alpine Church. We're doing a renovation. We're about halfway through this. It cost 33 grand. Alpine's doing 10 grand of it. We need to come up with 23 grand that we don't have. This is horrifying. We're told trust God. So that's what we're doing. We need to pay a bill soon. This is what I'm excited about right now. June 13th, we're hosting our first fundraiser, King's Gala. Now, this is an event for everyone, regardless of if you're interested in the school or not. Come have an elegant night out on the town with believers from across the city. We don't get to unify with other churches as often as I think we should. You know, Christ calls us to unify, to be one as the body of believers. And I believe that Kings will serve to help that in our city, because we'll have families from different churches growing up together, being friends, and we'll have events all the time that have people from all different churches coming together. So come unify with the body of Christ. This is a black tie fundraiser event. It's featuring Harvest Eatery prime rib buffet and appetizers. That's the outstanding restaurant in Shaunavon, if you're not aware. Badlands Coffee, dessert auction, live and silent auctions, entertainment, fellowship, and fun. All the proceeds that aren't paying for your meal and the event are going directly to the school. So the ticket is costly because there is a substantial There's a substantial donation that's going to the school straight from your ticket. That is a way to donate. And since it's Mother's Day, if there's any last-minute shoppers in here, Jordan, I'm looking at you, Jordan. You could take her to the same restaurant you do every year, or you could give her 2 tickets to a classy, elegant evening with Shaunavon's Harvest Eatery, and everyone else is all dressed all fancy, and we're having a good time. So, no pressure, but I'll talk to you after. I'm almost done here, folks. Please talk to us in the foyer after the service. Consider sending your kids to a Christ-centered school. If your kids are now parents, tell them about Kings so that they have the option. The school is taking shape. I'm talking very desperately, but that's just about the money part. The school is taking shape, and it's going well. We do absolutely need your help. The one thing that's in our way that makes this hard is what I call the typical Swift Current timid spirit. And it sounds like this. Oh, that's a good idea, Brandon. You should do that school. We'll wait a couple years and see how it goes, though. And that's how you immediately doom something. It's immediately doomed that way. What we need is to have a faith-filled, pioneering spirit that wants to bring God's kingdom on the earth. Together, let's move a mountain. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Eli.